Sir Francis Dashwood and the Hellfire Club. There were several organisations across Great Britain and Ireland during the 18th century who called themselves the Hellfire Club. The best known, most notorious and outrageous Hellfire Club was founded by Sir Francis Dashwood and his hoity-toity deviant cronies from English high society. They had a penchant for drunken orgies with prostitutes dressed up as nuns. They were officially named the Order of the Friars of St. Francis of Wiccan. Not as catchy, is it? No. Dashwood and Co. used the Witchcraft Act of 1735, which turned so-called witchcraft practices and anybody who was a fortune teller or who claimed to be able to talk to the dead into con artists and fraudsters. Preferable to being drowned, hung, stoned, pressed, stretched on a rock, or burned at the goddamn stake, for sure. Yeah. This bill wasn't repealed until the Fraudulent Mediums Act replaced it in 1951. That's 1951. Dashwood purchased the remnants of an old abbey outside Medmenham in southwest Buckinghamshire and refurbished it as a rendezvous for himself and his upper-crust pervy bros. It was rebuilt in the 18th century Gothic revival style by the architect Nicholas Rivet, who is best known for his documentation of the ancient Greek ruins in Athens. I always like to mention the punk rock star of the occult, Aleister Crowley, whenever I can find an excuse to, so here it is. The Hellfire Club's motto was the French phrase, "Fais ce que tu voudras," do what thou wilt. Crowley may have picked up the phrase for his "do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law" tenet for his Thelema religion. But the phrase dates back further than the Hellfire Club, in fact, nearly 2 centuries earlier. In 1534, the novel Gargantua, the second book of a pentalogy, was written by François Rabelais. They were burlesque satires filled with vulgar dialogue and an undercurrent of seriousness. The phrase "Fais ce que tu voudras" is mentioned in this book in relation to the motto of a fictional abbey, the Abbey de Theleme, or Abbey of Thelema, a place where the inhabitants were not ruled by divine dogma or religious traditions. The word Thelema is from Greek, meaning divine will. The Hellfire Club was rumoured to have one of the biggest collections of smut in all England. They held satanic rituals in the old abbey, ran around in black robes, blaspheming like troopers with their fetish nuns, but it was mostly drunken orgies, like I said. The Hellfire Club's reputation spread quickly among high society, and the membership swelled as members of the aristocracy and politicians of the day joined the ranks. Benjamin Franklin was rumoured to be a member, but he attended gatherings occasionally for sure. No, I did not make that shit up. The whole thing ended in a right bloody mess when Dashwood, who was appointed by Prime Minister John Stuart, the 3rd Earl of Bute, as the Chancellor of the Exchequer. That's the government budgeting head honcho over in the UK. But unfortunately, he was a bit of a dim bulb and made some extreme political faux pas, like a tax hike on cider. The people rioted in the streets over the tax hike, and ultimately this led to the Prime Minister's resignation. Even fiction writers had it in for the Hellfire Club members and thinly veiled characters in their stories that were easily identifiable as some members of the club. It all went tits up after that, and by 1766, the Hellfire Club was dead. Today's reel was inspired by Paul Michael Greer's amazing The Occult book, A Chronological Journey from Alchemy to Wicca. Research via Greer's book and Wikipedia.